Honestly, I don't know why I watch this stuff. I really don't. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Guilty Treasures. This segment is dedicated to trash TV. And we're talking reality television, we're talking guilty pleasure TV shows, terrible movies. Whatever the case may be, we all watch something that we're not very proud of, and we love it. Because one man's trash TV is another man's treasure. Now, on the list of terrible TV shows that you can watch, I'm pretty sure that The Bachelor is on the top of that list. Now, I was reluctant to watch The Bachelor at first. What's so appealing about watching a bunch of people that are just on TV to get their names out there, pretend like they're falling in love with somebody that they just met? Well, I'm sorry to say that it sucked me in. And at this point, I only watched The Bachelor and Bachelorette to get to Bachelor in Paradise. This is when all the rejects from The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, they come together on an island and they drink a bunch of booze. They hook up with random people. It's terrible, it's cheesy, but God do I love it. This week on Guilty Treasures, we're talking about the premiere of Season 6 of Bachelor in Paradise. Now, before we get started on recapping the show, why don't we get into the feel of things? Now, I can't talk about a show in a tropical setting and look like this. I need to get a little bit more appropriately dressed. So why don't we do that right now? Now let's talk about Bachelor in Paradise. Before we get into the episode proper, let's go through the cast. First, we have Annalise. Now, last season on Bachelor in Paradise, Annalise was kind of like the frog of the island. She would hop from one man to another man to another man and really get nowhere. At the end of the day, she headed home with nobody, and you know what? I get it. It's hard to find a relationship in that setting, but a ton of people do. We also have, coming back from last season, is Bibi. Now, I love Bibiana. She's one of my favorite people in the cast. It was really tough seeing her last year not get to make any real connections with anybody. She was kind of one of those people that were just kind of in the background the whole time. She would help everybody on the island through their problems and their, issues, and, she was really like the mother hen of the island. It's really nice to have somebody like that in a setting like this, but Bibi is a fox. Bibi has a lot going for her. I think that she's a catch, and one of these guys should scoop her up. Another person coming to the island this season is Cam. Cam was on Hannah B's season, and he was known for rapping and loving chicken nuggets and making up really crazy stories about like his dog dying and him getting into a car accident or something like that. Cam was a guy that I never really cared for on The Bachelorette, and it wasn't only for him being extremely annoying and having no rapping skills and kind of wasting everybody's time. I don't know. We'll see if he does well on the island. Now, one of the people returning is Chris B. Now, I'm fairly new to the Bachelor universe, so I don't really know Chris. Apparently, he was on these Bachelor shows a lot. Like, a lot. To the point where he actually had to retire. That's a lot. He's a lot older than most of the guys on the island. I think he's like the second oldest or whatever. In Bachelor years, that's like ancient. He's been engaged, I think. Sorry, I don't have all the facts. I know that he has some trouble in relationships. Maybe Paradise isn't the best place to, find love and kind of rebuild structure in relationships, but you never know, stranger things have happened. Next up on the cast list is Clay. Don't really remember Clay. He's kind of boring. He has some relationship baggage going into it. He just broke up with somebody a few months before, and that person is really good friends with Annalise. Clay is interesting because he looks like he has the body of a Michael Strahan and the voice of like a Nathan Fielder or a Michael Cera. Next up on the cast list is one of my favorites, and that's Demi. Demi, in my opinion, is one of the most interesting, one of the most fun, one of the most like down-to-earth and true to herself people that you see on these shows. Now, in the intro to the show, Demi shares with Hannah B. she was in a relationship recently. She also reveals that she was in a relationship with a woman. Now, this marks the first time apparently in the show's history that they've had a queer couple relationship storyline on the show, and it's a step in the right direction. I feel like a lot of people that watch The Bachelor, they're middle America, so they might not be used to seeing queer couples on TV. You know, ABC is owned by Disney. They've taken steps in the right direction to have more visibility and representation of queer characters. Andy Mack, for instance. I think it's a great thing, and aside from that, Demi is just awesome, so I can't wait to see what she does on the show. Next up is Derek, and you know, he's Derek. Alright, next up is Dylan. Now, I remember Dylan from Hannah B's season. Do I remember much from Dylan? No, I don't. Mainly because Luke P was taking up a lot of airtime, and I get it. But Dylan was kind of one of these guys that, like, he's a good-looking dude. He seems like a pretty good guy. Usually on these shows, like, good guys that have a lot to offer don't tend to really last long and don't tend to do really well. But that can be different on Paradise. You never know. Next up is Hannah G. Me personally, watching Colton's season, I wasn't a big fan of Hannah G. There was no real reason to dislike her, but she was just kind of there, so I didn't really connect with her much. Next up is Jane, and Jane I don't remember at all. In her video package, her big thing is that she's into hot sauce, which I guess if you're making your whole personality based around hot sauce, it just shows you how much that they have to offer. Next up is John Paul Jones, JPJ. I love this guy. He was really fun to watch. He just seems like a lot of fun. He seems like a regular Californian guy, and you know what? Like, I appeal to that. Like, a lot of these people in these shows take themselves seriously, and that's definitely not JPJ. This is him in his element, I think, and it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. Next up is Katie from Colton's season. Katie seemed really down to earth. She's very pretty. You know, I think that Katie didn't really get to showcase a lot of her personality. She kind of caught up with the drama. You know what? I'm rooting for Katie. I think she seems to be a pretty cool chick. Next up is Kevin, and Kevin has an interesting intro. Now, you might remember Kevin from Hannah B's season. Once again, a guy that I don't really remember. Aside from him having some beef with Cam, he didn't really get to showcase a lot of his personality. He kind of got lost in the whole shuffle of things. Now, his introduction to the island is really strange. He gets an interesting introduction from Chris Harrison, who is psyched to see his physical change. In this scene, it seems like Chris Harrison wanted him some Kevin. I'm just saying, I'm putting it right out there, right on Front Street. It was odd. So Kevin seems like he has physically changed. Let's see if mentally he can connect with somebody. Who knows? Next up is Nicole. Nicole is the girl on Colton season that would cry a lot. She got into some beef with Onyeka. Really hope I'm saying that right. That kind of sent her home. There was a lot of drama. Hopefully there's none of that on the island. And of course, next up is the other side of that equation, Onyeka. Once again, hope I'm saying that right. Onyeka has had a lot of great personality shown in Colton's season. I think that, you know, she has a lot to offer. I'm pulling for Onyeka. I always liked her a lot. And once again, I hope I'm saying that right. Next up is Sydney from Colton's season. Now, if you remember correctly, Sydney sent herself home because she wasn't feeling the connection. She didn't want to, you know, waste anybody's time. Sydney seems really down to earth, and she has a lot to offer. I think she'll be a hot commodity on the island. Now, next up is Tasia. Tasia is somebody that I felt like the whole time watching The Bachelor that she would be the Bachelorette. I was wrong. Tasia didn't end up the Bachelorette, obviously, as we all know, but she's back on the show. She's on Paradise. Hopefully she'll find some love, so we'll see where that goes. And I completely forgot to mention that Wills is on this season. Now, I love Wills, and I hope that he finds love in Paradise and doesn't fall into the background like last year. Now, week 1 starts with the way that it always starts. Everybody's slowly coming to the beach and meeting each other and drinking and figuring out who they're gonna bang and all that stuff. Everybody's showing up. And one of those people, of course, is Blake. And yeah, the last time that I saw Blake, I felt bad for the guy. He seemed like he actually really cared for Becca, and like on these shows, that shows a lot of character. Seems like we got a different Blake this time. We might not have known the true Blake when we watched The Bachelorette. Blake is a boy, for sure. He goes there, he meets Hannah G, and he's into Hannah G. She's pretty, why not? But Tasia shows up, and yeah, he's clearly into Tasia. But what we don't know, and what he doesn't know, is that Kaylin is coming to Paradise. And the second she shows up, he runs for the hills. Now, Blake was running away from Kaylin like when you're a little kid and you know you messed up something in your house and your parents just get home before you get a chance to clean it up. So you're running, hoping that if they don't find you that they can't whip your ass. That was Blake. The show should be called Blake in Paradise because it's all about what Blake did before the show, who did he do before the show, where did they meet, who had sex with who. I don't know. Now the whole situation is that apparently Kaylin got hooked up with Blake through Colton. Weird, I know, but this is Bachelor. Now they met at Stagecoach, which is like a big like Coachella for people who like country. They meet up, they become very friendly, and they hook up. Now what Kaylin finds out after that is that Blake hooked up with Christina, who's another Bachelor alum, like the day before that, not even like 24 hours before he hooked up with Kaylin. So that's awkward. On top of that, as if that's not awkward enough, Blake is in the bed post-coitus, post-bang sesh with Kaylin, apparently going over Tasia's Instagram. Like, what kind of balls does this guy have? That he's gonna be laying in the bed with the girl that he just hooked up with, looking at another girl's Instagram who he clearly wants to bang. This guy went from being one of the most likable people I've ever seen on one of these shows to the biggest douchebag. Now, if this was me and I did something douchey like that to a girl and I knew I screwed up, I would probably run too if I saw her on the beach. Now be prepared for a lot more Blake and Kaylin talk because this thing is gonna go all over the place. While this is happening, other people are getting to know each other. Other people are mingling on the island. Apparently Sydney and Derek are meeting each other. Sydney seems interested in him even though Derek apparently got engaged on Bachelor in Paradise in seasons before. I didn't know this. This is crazy. There's even a little conversation with Sydney and Demi, maybe interested in each other. I don't know. This can go anywhere. There's a moment that Tasia is kind of into Derek and, it seems like all these girls are into used goods apparently. Now Wills is showing up at this point and he's interested in Hannah G. There's a lot going on, people. It's hard to keep track of this. I mean, I literally made notes in my notepad. That's how hard it is to keep track of this. Now Annalise is there and it seems like she's dead set to block Clay. I mean, I get it, he used to date her friend, but like, you should be there for yourself, not for your friend. Now Kaylin at this point kind of gets sad that Blake gets a date card, I believe, and he picks Tasia. And Kaylin's sad that he's going on a date with somebody else, and Hannah's sad that she didn't get picked on the date, and Kaylin, this guy's a why the hell would you want him to be after you? I think the only way that Kaylin would be happy about this situation is if there was a riptide and just sucked Blake into the ocean. But who can blame her? Now Blake and Tasia go on this date and there's a bunch of dangly lights, and Tasia, you would think that she's never seen a bunch of dangly lights before. Now Tasia mentions on the date that she wants to get to know Blake and she's really excited to get to know Blake, and apparently that means making out with Blake around a bunch of dangly lights in a hot tub. And that is paradise, my friends. Now while this is going on, Kaylin is in full Blake mode. So she's telling everybody that she can, little by little, planting the seeds. Telling Anika, going to Annalise, I believe. At this point, Christina shows up. Yes, that Christina. The one that Blake had sex with 24 hours before Kaylin. Seriously, did he even shower? They have showers at Stagecoach? So Christina shows up, Blake himself, and she chooses him for a date. Now Kaylin is telling everybody about what Blake did and played her. They say loose lips sink ships, and I'm pretty sure that she is dead set on sinking SS boy. So guys, leave a comment below and let me know if you're Team Blake, Team Kaylin. Are you sick and tired of the whole Blake and Kaylin nonsense? Do you think Chris Harrison is a little creepy for liking Kevin's new physique that much? Do you think Dylan's an idiot for falling for Hannah after she keeps making out with everybody else on the island? Let me know in the comments below what you guys all think about it. When we pick up in episode 2, nothing has really changed and the main topic on the island still is Blake and Kaylin. All I know is that I signed up for Bachelor in Paradise and I'm getting the Kaylin and Blake love story that never was to be. And I'm like, over it. I want like other stories. Give me BB, give me Demi, give me, anything with Blake and Kaylin. So everybody's starting to turn on Blake and I'm loving every minute of it. He's trying to explain himself to Christina on the date, and that's when the gaslighting starts. Once a guy is in a conversation, he's caught and he tries to start gaslighting somebody. I mean, like, at that point, like, there's nothing you can say in my mind. You f***ed up. Like, come on, dude. There's no redeemable qualities left in Blake, in my opinion. This is showing his true colors, and I'm over it. Show me somebody else. Things progress in the episode. It's more Blake. And then Kaylin finally talks to Blake, which is great, because then we get some drama, because Caitlyn loses it. She's telling Blake everything that he did and how it made her feel and like her perspective, and he's oblivious. Blake starts breaking down into this, and it's great because like at this point we all are in agreement that he deserves everything he's getting at this point. He makes a comment like, oh, nobody will love me now, or like nobody will want me now, and it's like, yeah, dude, you just want to be wanted. You don't care about anybody's feelings. So at this point, like, while all this is happening, like other people are connecting, and like, one of the main ones is that since Hannah G was rejected by Blake, she goes and finds Dylan, who's extremely attracted to her. And you know what? It's cute. He's a really good guy, and he's interested in Hannah. And I think, honestly, she's not really interested in Dylan. Hannah's clearly only interested in Dylan because he's interested in her and thinks she's hot. So they seem like they're connecting, and they kiss. Dylan is over the moon. Cut to the next day, and Wills is making his move on Hannah. And sure enough, Wills and Hannah kiss. Dylan finds out and understandably is super bummed. At this point, I'm just thinking to myself, well, Hannah clearly isn't into anyone. She just wants to be wanted. So maybe she is perfect for Blake. Now at this point, Clay is kind of like connecting with BB. So BB is connecting with Clay, and it's nice to see her actually put herself out there. Clay is interested in her, it seems like, at first. Things are going well until Nicole shows up. So Annalise sees that Clay's having fun, and she obviously wants to go and ruin that. They had this conversation. From the way that Annalise is talking to Clay, it seems like you would think that they were together. She is super, super invested in this, and it's like strange. I mean, at this point, I'm kind of thinking that Annalise has more problems than Blake has random hookups, like stagecoach level. You fill a whole stagecoach with her problem. Now, while Clay is on his date with Nicole, by the way, he chose Nicole over BB, they're dancing and God knows what. I wasn't paying attention. They're both so boring. Everybody else back at the house decided they're gonna have a taco date night. And this is where Jane finally makes her play to try to get a rose, because she's super boring and wasn't really making connections with anybody. So she makes her play at JPJ, who has no claim to anybody so far. They have a taco date night. JPJ ends up eating a taco that was way too spicy for him. Same, bro. Don't like the spice. He ends up throwing up on the beach. This is great television. Now at this point, Blake has made no friends, and he pretty much has everybody on the island thinking that he's a colossal piece of crap. He sees the one chance he has and tells the camera that I came here for Hannah, which wasn't the case when he was making out with Tayshia in a hot tub on their date, surrounded by dangly lights. Not to mention he went on a date with Christina as well. Of course, the universe brings these two indecisive people together, and Hannah and Blake kiss, much to the chagrin of Dylan. Poor Dylan. Now, she tells Dylan this because, like, oh, she's a good person and she's straight up with him. Yeah, I guess you can flip it that way, but I think you just want to see how hurt Dylan's gonna get. Why do you keep doing this to this guy? Stringing him along. Just cut him loose. So that's where they leave us. Hurricane Blake came through and tore everything up. So anyway, week 1 is in the books, and what did we learn, people? Don't go to Stagecoach. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and stay up to date with all my new videos by hitting the bell icon down there. And I hope to see you guys soon. So until then, bye.